Hi there, Happy New Year. It's been a couple of weeks since my last video upload. Things were really hectic around the holidays and school being out and everything. So getting back into the swing of things. And with the new year, I think I want to try something different for the first couple of videos. We'll see how this goes. But now that we have some of Dylan's behaviors a little bit better under control, at least the majority of the time, I wanted to try something different, and while at the same time letting him enjoy something he enjoys doing, try to improve some of his life skills. So this series will specifically be around trips to the grocery store. So if you watch some of my early videos about Dylan, you know that Dylan enjoys trips to the grocery store, but we had at least one really significant event at a local grocery store about a year and a half ago or so. And so for a long time, it was something that I did not take Dylan to do anymore, just for fear of what was going to happen and the behaviors that might ensue during the trip. So for a long time, we didn't do it. We have ventured out more recently and applied a couple of tips to try to allow him to be able to have the experience, but in maybe a more controlled and less sensory stimulating environment. So I'll share some of those in this video. But now that we're in a place where we can semi-comfortably take him to the grocery store and allow him to enjoy that, I want to try to incorporate some techniques that might help teach him a life skill at the same time. So a little bit of a more controlled experience at the grocery store as far as taking a list and having him learn to shop from a shopping list to get the things that we need, instead of just a joy excursion to the grocery store for him to pick out whatever it is that he's wanting. So in this video, I want to share what my ideas are, what some past experiences are with Dylan recently at the grocery store, some of the ideas that I want to try to incorporate, and how I think I plan to do that. And then in future videos, I will show you or document how well that is not going. So stay tuned to this video. I want to share with you where we are now and where I'd like to go in the very near future. Okay, so like I mentioned in the intro of this video, about a year and a half ago or so, I had taken Dylan to a local grocery store, a large chain grocery store. Hadn't had issues with him previously to this particular incident. Grocery shopping, he tended to really enjoy it. However, in one particular event, it escalate into a really significant situation really fast. I'm not still sure to this day what caused it, if it was something he was wanting and I didn't understand, or if it was a sensory thing, or what caused the meltdown. But we had a significant meltdown at the grocery store. Ended up both of us bloody, police and fire called. The firefighters had put Dylan on a stretcher to try to subdue him and get him to calm down, and even into the back of the ambulance before we were able to get him to calm down. All in all, it was about, I feel like in hindsight, it was about a 45-minute ordeal, and traumatizing for everyone involved, needless to say. So if you want to hear more about that, check out, I think, one of the first videos I've uploaded to this channel, the About Dylan video. I talk a lot about where we've come and some of the more significant events that we've had, in particular that one. But needless to say, because that was so traumatizing and scary, and a really close call to Dylan being put in a hospital, we did not take him to the grocery store for a long time after that, certainly not by myself. Over time, I did start taking him to the grocery store. I always, and still to this day, go with someone else. Typically my dad will go with us, just in case we have an issue and I need a second set of hands to help get him out of the store and into the car. We also have stopped going to the large grocery store. I feel like that from a sensory standpoint, it's too much. There's too much space. There's too many visual things going on, it's louder, and typically there's more people. So what we have been doing is we've been taking him to a smaller grocery store. And from a sensory standpoint, that seems to work a lot better. We also try to take him certain times of the day as much as possible when it tends to be less crowded and things like that. So that seems to be working pretty well. And so one of his favorite things to do is to go to the grocery store. So here's a little bit of footage, and I'll kind of explain it while the footage is playing here, but a little bit of footage of a recent trip with Dylan to the grocery store. He enjoys going. He enjoys just walking around, and sometimes when we go, he will just literally walk laps around the store, taking in the sights, taking in the smells, trying to decide what it is he wants to look at or look for. Sometimes we leave with nothing. Sometimes he walks around until he decides there's something in particular he wants, and I'll usually let him get something, a drink and a snack. The first few times we went, it was like he was on a shopping spree. He wanted everything that he saw. And then over time, it's gotten now to where he just likes to walk around. He likes to look. He likes to think about what it is he might want. And then at some point, he'll usually pick one drink and one snack. And so that's much easier to manage, not only for him, but for my pocketbook as well. So that's been better. There's things that he typically likes to look at every time. So he likes to stop and first look at the prepackaged little fruit snacks, fruit and cheese and those kind of things. And then he likes to stop and look at the Lunchables to decide if there's one of those he might particularly want. And then he likes to walk around to the other side of the store and look on the candy aisle. He rarely gets anything on the candy aisle, but he, for some reason, always likes to look. And we'll usually wander towards either the chips and crackers or the soda drinks. He likes to look at those usually. Lately, more often than not, he ends up just finding something by the register that he wants, a drink and a little bag of chips or something like that. So that's been really nice. A couple of the quirky things about Dylan are the things that I've noticed that make him uncomfortable. And this applies whether you're in a grocery store aisle or in a school hallway or whatever that might be, even on a sidewalk even. He gets really uncomfortable being up close next to people. So for example, in the grocery store, if he wants to go down an aisle, but there's already somebody in that aisle, he gets really uncomfortable. He'll often choose not to go down the aisle at all. Sometimes if he just really wants to, but he's uncomfortable, the only way he will is if I take his hand and walk with him. More often than not, the best way I found that I do this is I take his hand and I hold his hand on the side where the person is standing. So if the person's standing on this side, I take Dylan's left hand and we walk past the person with me kind of in between him, and he's much more comfortable that way. Dylan does get uncomfortable. That again applies on the sidewalk even. If we're out on a walk and there's someone coming towards us on the sidewalk, he likes to go to the other side of the street and walk on the sidewalk, or we'll step over into the grass while that person walks by and then he'll get back on the sidewalk again. So it's something that I've noticed is unique to Dylan, and a way that I've helped him overcome that, at least when I'm there and I can help him do that. So again, as you can kind of tell from this little bit of footage, Dylan really enjoys the grocery shopping experience, and I'd like for him to continue to enjoy that in a controlled way with me and my dad or someone there to help me. However, I want to take this new year to try to work on some life skills with Dylan also. And so one thing I'd like to try to do, he is 15, but I want to try to take this opportunity to work on the skill of actual grocery shopping with a purpose. Sometimes whenever we go to the grocery store, there's also something else that I need as well. And he's not always really willing to go where I want to go in the grocery store to grab the couple of things I need. He tends to like to go where he wants to go and do what he wants to do. And then when he's done, he's done. So again, this is something I really want to try to work with him on, is making it more controlled and with a purpose for the reason that we're going to the grocery store. Certainly not to take away his joy in looking for something he wants. I'd like to allow him to still be able to do that as well. But I want to try to give some structure behind it and a tool for him to use to collect things that we might need, and then also pick out something that he wants at the same time. That'll be an important life skill that he'll need in the future as well. So the way I want to go about doing that is I want to try to put together a visual grocery list, so to speak, for Dylan that I can print out and take with us to the grocery store, and use that to visually show him that these are the things that we need to collect on our grocery trip today. The very last thing will be something that Dylan wants, of his choice. And then we'll go to the checkout stand and we'll check out and consider it a goal accomplished. So what I'd like to do as well is obviously start small. So I want to start with maybe 2 things on the list from a visual picture standpoint of what it is we need to collect on that grocery trip. And then the third thing would be maybe a picture of Dylan, and that indicates something that he can pick out for himself, and then we'll go check out. And this won't be intended to rush him in any way. We'll take our time, but really the goal is to have it at some point before we leave. We have collected the things that are on our list as well as something that he enjoys, and then we'll check out and we'll go. So not being a teacher, I don't have any special software that I plan to use for this right now. What I'd like to try to do, at least initially, to see how this goes, is I want to just use something like Microsoft Word and Google Images. I'll go to, for example, walmart.com, the online shopping, and I will pull down or save images of a couple of common things that we typically need from the grocery store. And I'll put it into Microsoft Word, and I'll make a line for each particular item. I'll have a picture of the milk. I'll probably start with a picture of milk and a picture of the bacon right below it, and then thirdly a picture of Dylan. Next to each picture, I will put a check mark box, or an empty box that we can put a check mark next to whenever we have it. And then I'll take this document with the 3 pictures on it, and I'll print it off in cardstock in color. Probably print 2 or 3 copies of this because I want to start small. I want to kind of practice this, and I don't want to make the list bigger or longer too quickly. So we'll probably do the same routine 2 or 3 times, see how it goes. And then from there, as we've mastered that skill a little bit, then we'll start to make that list a little bit longer. So here's an example on the screen of the first grocery shopping list that we'll try to use the next time we go grocery shopping, and I can say that that'll probably be next weekend because, again, it's one of his favorite things to do is to go to the grocery store. So next time we do, the first time we try this with Dylan, I will try my best to document it and share that with you as we go, so you can see how it's working, any changes I might make, and how it might be improving Dylan's skill of being able to grocery shop with a purpose. So if you're interested in this topic, then please stay tuned and I'll keep you updated with how it's going.